Happy Sunday! Welcome to the studio. I'm so glad you're here. Yay! This week we're going to be creating textured papers to use in our collage because 100 days of collage used up a lot of papers. So today we're going to be experimenting with textured papers and oh boy, it's going to be so much fun. Today we're going to be creating papers that have been my favorite to use during the 100 days of collage. Because some of you can't actually buy the papers or they're too expensive or you can't get the shipping. So we're going to experiment with making some and it's going to be absolutely fantastic. But first of all, I really want to share with you my awesome Skillshare class. This video is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of members in over 150 countries. I'm both a student and a teacher on Skillshare. I've taken so many classes on everything that I want to learn, how to build a YouTube channel, how to take better photos with your iPhone, anything that you can think of that you want to learn that's going to improve your life or upscale your skills, you can find a class on Skillshare. It's a really easy platform to use and it has hundreds, maybe thousands of classes on the platform. It's so exciting because there's so much to learn and there's so much to grow and develop, and especially in the field of creativity. Now, I have 9 classes on Skillshare. They are awesome. And what I personally love about being a teacher on Skillshare is that once you are a member of the platform, it doesn't matter if you watch one of my classes or all 9 of my classes, it's still the same price. What a bargain. Actually, that is why I started teaching on Skillshare, because if you were to buy my classes individually, it would really set you back. But for like $10 a month, I think, depending on your currency, it's an annual membership and you can watch all of the classes that I have on the platform. Yay! I'm about to launch my 10th class, so you really need to jump in. Click on the link in the description. The first 1,000 people to use the link in the description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Hello, you can't get any more affordable than free. Right, so you'll find the link in my description and that will give you the first month free and I'll see you there. Okay, so this is the inspiration. This beautiful paper, it's a paper from Thailand, handmade, called polka dots, right? That makes perfect sense. It's beautiful. When I saw it in the store on camipaper.com.au, I wasn't very impressed at all. I didn't even buy it. But then Libby sent me some and I'm like, oh my gosh, fell in love. I absolutely love it. It's fabulous. So this is the inspiration for what we're going to experiment with, making some textured papers for our collage. Also, I want to have a little play with the idea of creating some beehive paper. I bought this from the Takapuna Art Supply. Absolutely love it. You get it in white and you get it in black. So I want to play around with experimenting on white tissue to create something that resembles this idea. Because unfortunately, some people can't get the paper or it's very expensive or it can't ship to them or whatever. So why don't we just make some, right? Now I have recycled white tissue, which comes with paper packaging, free resource, love it, from all the numerous things I buy online. I'm going to be using that. We're also going to be using white tissue from the dollar shop. That's just gift wrap tissue. See how nice and white and clean and pressed looking that one is? So we're going to play with that as well. And we're just going to experiment with some ideas. If they work, hallelujah. If they don't, no drama. You know, it really doesn't matter because we're just in the studio having fun and creating some ideas. So the first thing I want to try is using my crumpled recycled paper And because this to me looks so much like bubble wrap, why don't we just like paint bubble wrap and put it on the tissue? Like, hello, doesn't that sound so easy? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use some gesso. First of all, gesso is a primer that you use often to coat your canvases before you paint on them. It's kind of chalky and white looking, and why I'm trying that first is because I'd like to have a go at spraying the tissues and seeing how that looks. So I want to use the gesso because I think the sprays would work better on it. Now I'm going to use the see how there's kind of like a shiny side and a flat side? I'm going to use the flat side, but like I said, I am completely experimenting with this idea. Now I'm rolling out the gesso with a brayer just because I can. It's fun. And remember, we're experimenting, so we're just going to try a whole heap of ideas and see which ones work. So I put the gesso on with a brayer. I'm putting that on the white tissue, taking a print with the bubble wrap. And then when that dries, we're going to see how it looks. Does it feel like that other fabulous paper? What does it dry like? You probably can't see much because it's all white on white, but it's rather fabulous. That's going to work really well. I'm already liking that idea. So I've got a few different sizes of bubble wrap. That one's pretty good size. It's got a nice dimension to the circles. Okay, there's also the standard tiny little one. I'm going to take a print with that. And I have this mother load of a size, which clearly I've used before. So maybe I'll use that side. That's a bit cleaner. We'll go with that. So I'm going to try those 3 different sizes. All right, so let's just make a whole heap of these tissues with the bubble wrap print and see how they dry up and what they look like. Like I said, experimenting. Now it's all a bit of a blizzard in the snowstorm. You can't see very much because it's just white on white with white. But the bubble wrap prints are working really well. And when they dry and I show you, and we're definitely going to spray some, I think this idea is a bit of a winner. So I'm just taking the bubble wrap, making prints on my white tissue and laying them on the floor, and they're looking pretty cool. This is the mother load bubble wrap. This is the really big fat one, and you probably can't see it greatly, but it takes a really nice print. It looks really cool. This is going to work. Yay, team. So I'm just going to keep printing the bubble wrap onto the tissue and let that dry. And then we're going to spray that and we're going to see how it looks in comparison to our inspiration. Now I'm trying 3 different sizes of bubble wrap because I have it here and I think that's fun. And so far, I actually think that the standard bubble wrap is taking the best print, which is surprising. I thought the bigger one would have been a better print, but it's actually not. So, you know, you just got to try these brilliant ideas. This one's quite cool. It's taking quite a nice print. It's quite clear and even in its marks. So that's cool. You'll be able to see that better once it's dried. Now we're going to do a similar experiment for our beehive paper. I'm going to use my fabulous bling ring maker, which is pretty much just a tube from paper towels, I think. And then I've cut it and it's got a fabulous end on it. You can always use the trusty toilet roll, fabulous free resources. It is a lot thinner, so depending on how thick you want your glorious beehive paper to be, you can choose different tubing. Also, if you can get amazing things from the plumbing section of your hardware, this is also a fabulous tool because it's got a great round flat surface. Hello. It's endless. You can use lids. You can use, oh my gosh, so many beautiful circle making things. So again, I'm going to use the gesso because I want to see how the gesso responds to paint. And we're just going to put the beautiful, fabulous circle shapes on the tissue. Now, the beehive paper is connected, but I always rip it apart when I'm using it anyway, so I'm not connecting my circles. I'm just going to have them like this. And then when this dries, we're going to see how good it looks. We're going to see how well it sprays up. And, you know, you're going to be making paper like a crazy person. I know that it's not just me. Let's try that one. That one's fun. That works just as well. It's a little bit smaller. So, you know, you just have to decide what size you want your fabulous beehive inspired paper to be. And, you know, off you go. It ain't rocket science, baby. We're just creating art. That looks fabulous. You know, it's actually quite therapeutic to sit here stamping circles. It's not hard. You can't get it wrong. Now, I don't use toilet rolls as much because I find that circle's a bit thin for me. But you could always connect them to make it more like that beehive paper. See, this works. I'm telling you, you don't need to spend all that money and stress out. You can just make your own. Yay. So there you go. Look at that. That's very beehive looking. And then because it's on the tissue, the paper will tear easy. When it goes into your collage, the tissue goes transparent. So it looks fabulous. I mean, win-win. We're just winning. You just got to have the patience to make it. But what I find is that I make an incredible amount at one time because I'm a little obsessive. And I will probably sit here and make 10 of these sheets at once because it really is actually quite therapeutic. And once you've got a whole heap, then we can experiment further. We can add, color to it, and we can try different ways of creating that paper into a different feel. So, you know, go ahead, make a whole heap because I know we're going to use them. Look at that. That's fabulous beehive paper. You can't tell me that it's not. Right, so my fabulous papers have dried and I'm real happy with how they've come up. Remember, this was our inspiration, which looks like bubble wrap. So we used bubble wrap to create these fabulous textures. So that's the side there that I've used the gesso on, and that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool texture. I'm liking that. These ones are the standard bubble wrap size, which they look pretty cool. Look at that. Yeah, that looks cool. I think it's got a nice feel about it. I like the texture. This was the next size in the bubble wrap, and that's pretty nice too. I like the texture on that. This is recycled tissue, so hello, we're winning here. Look at that. That looks pretty cool. Yep, I'm liking it. This is the bigger bubble wrap, which I don't like as much. I thought the bigger one would be better. Bigger is usually better, but this time it didn't print as clear, but I am going to spray it, so that is always fun. Love that. So I'm thinking that one or the standard bubble wrap size was pretty cool too. Now our fabulous beehive paper, look at that. Oops, it's still a little wet. That looks awesome. Now you can't tell me that doesn't. So if you can't get the beehive paper, just make some. It's easy peasy lemon squeezy. Look how good that looks. Loving it. It is a tad wet, oopsies. And this is the one where I had the separate circle shapes. That's great too because I personally like to rip out the circles and put them into my collage. And because it's on the white tissue will go transparent. You'll just have the round circle shape. Look, awesome, awesome, awesome. Now, of course, I couldn't just do white. I did some fabulous black circles as well. Look how good they look. They will make fabulous elements in collage. You can just rip them out. Also, I made the glorious beehive paper in the black. Yes, I know, it's endless. It is. And I did some gold circles because they look amazing. So this is the iridescent bronze fine in the golden. And I'm loving that. I will definitely use these, rip them out, put them in my collage. What's not to love? Righto, so I've got craft paper down here on my table because I'm going to spray some of these and see how they look sprayed, because that would just be fun. Now I've got some of the Ice Inks Seth Apter spray inks because I really like them. They're great to use. They're a good pigment load and yay, they work really well. Oh my gosh, look how beautiful that comes up. That is just fabulous. This is the honey. Love the honey. I sprayed some of that paper when I was doing the collage and it looked glorious. So look at that. That looks fabulous. Now, I did a second spray on top there and you can see it kind of just makes it deeper and gives it more of the dye sitting on top of the gesso there. But even where it's lighter, it looks great. Either way is fine. I'm loving that. That is beautiful. What about we spray this one in the coffee? That's going to work really well too. The Ice Inks. This is the medium-sized bubble wrap. And look at that. That is glorious. Just glorious. I love it. So don't stress out if you can't buy this paper because, baby, making it is pretty easy. That looks fabulous sprayed. I knew it would spray well because it's tissue with gesso. So how could it not work? Of course it's going to work. Looks fabulous. So what about the glorious beehive? I mean, I love it like that and I use it all the time white, but you know, we could spray it as well. This one is the tea in the Ice Inks. It's a really nice color too. Oh, yes. What I'm loving about this is the way you see the white coming through from the color of the stain on the tissue. That is just beautiful. That's going to work really well in my collage. This one copped a little bit of overspray. Oopsies. Not to worry. Let's give it a dose of licorice. Yes. Oh, come on. What's not to love about that? That is just beautiful. There you go. Tissue, some gesso, a toilet roll, and a little bit of spray ink. We have some magnificent pages for our glorious collage. That is just so awesome. Now, what are we going to do next? Look at all my fabulous papers. I'm just loving these experiments. Now, I saw on Instagram this week, Catherine Rains, Cat Rains Artist is her handle on Instagram, and I watched her. She was doing some experiments with some textured papers, and there's an idea that from her Instagram that I want to try. Now, these papers are looking glorious. Look how fabulous they look stained. Even the back looks amazing. So if you don't want to have an obvious bubble wrap mark, you flip it over, you've got beautiful organic textured marks. Yes, hello. What's not to love about that? They all came up beautiful with the Ice Inks. They're just glorious. So I want to try this idea that I saw this week. And Catherine was using a matte medium to coat her white tissue experiments to give them a more of a rice paper feel and look, which I think is a really fascinating idea, especially as I've got these fabulous bubble wrap ones with the textures, because the white tissue goes quite transparent when you're layering mediums on top of it and creating a more of a waxy surface or a rice papery feel. I reckon we should give it a go. Yes, I do. I think we need to add that into the next step of experimentation. So I've got some papers. I'm going to definitely try the white, maybe with some of the circles as well, with the white, gold and the black, because I think they will probably work really well. I don't know that these colored ones will work, but you know, I've got to try, right? It's all about experimenting this week. So I'm going to try with some of these other stains from the ice ink papers. They look so cool. I am so happy with how the experiments are going. So this is what we need besides our fabulous textured tissue. What we need is plastic to put the beautiful paper on. Now, I like to use these L-shaped pockets, they're called. I just get them from Warehouse Stationery. Love this place. It's a 5-minute walk. I get so much of my supplies from there. I use these to put my finished gel prints in when I want to store them, because I put them into printing blocks of when I created them. So then if I'm looking for a shape or a color or a texture, and I know when I printed it all together, when I'm jelly printing Frenzy, then when they're all dried, I put them into this to store them. So I'm thinking I might use these because I have them and because they're a really strong plastic. I like it. You can always use like those plastic page dividers. They would work too. You need plastic to put it on or you're never going to get that sucker off. So this is just what I'm using. You don't have to use this. You can use any other form of a plastic surface, but it has to be able to be peeled off. Now, I like these. Yes, I can just rip it apart. I don't even have to cut it. So this is what I'm going to use for my base to put it on, because it's a nice strong plastic. Now, what are we going to start with? I'm using the same matte medium that I use for my collage. Love using matte medium. I brush it on. If you've watched any of our episodes, you know that's what I do. This is the one I use because the Liquitex Basics is the most affordable. Again, Warehouse Stationery is where I get it by the bucket load. So, you know, I'm going to use this. I think I'm going to put it into a bowl and just water it down a little. I think that's a good plan, Stan. So let me just get that, and then we're going to have a little experiment. So I have about 2/3 matte medium and 1/3 of water. Now remember, this is an experiment, right? Don't get too technical with me. But I know someone's going to ask, how much water did you put in? Yeah, about that. I just want to make it a little smoother, a little runnier, so that it goes on the paper easier. Do you think that's enough? Nah, that's not really enough, is it? Okay, I'm just going to go get another dash of water. Hold the phone caller. Righto. I put another little dash of water in it because I just want it to be smoother and easier to... Look at that. See? That's better. That's smoother. So you just got to experiment. You've got to try. And look at that. I'm loving that. That's really nice and smooth now. Yeah, baby. Now we're cooking with gas. I have my plastic. It's like one of those file folders, but it's plastic. So I'm loving it. I use it all the time to put my jelly prints in. So this is just working. Righto, so what we have to do is we put it on the plastic first, the matte medium. And then we put the tissue on, and then we put matte medium on top of it. That's why you have to make sure you've got a really good plastic base. Otherwise, that sucker's sticking to your table and it's never coming off. So make sure you've got a good plastic base first. Coat the plastic base. Put the tissue on. This has got the fabulous bubble wrap mark on it, which I'm loving. And coat it with the matte medium. Like, hello, it's not rocket science. We can do this. And what we're doing is we're just creating a layer of matte medium on the tissue, which will make it a little more rice paper like. It'll definitely thicken the tissue. I'm just trying to chase out the air bubbles. But I don't mind if it's crinkly or it's got air bubbles or whatever, Trevor. You know, this is collage paper and we're experimenting with an idea. Don't get stressed out. Just slap it on, hope for the best. You're only going to rip it up and put it in a collage anyway. So, you know, don't stress yourself over it. That's pretty cool. That's on, right? A little bit of matte medium on there like that, chasing the bubbles off. And then now this has to dry. Yeah, I know. That's the hard part. And now, I must tell you one more important thing that Catherine stresses. Make sure you kind of bunch the edge like this so that it's easier to get off once it's dried. Otherwise, it's just a little harder to peel off your plastic because you kind of need a little bunched edge so that you can grab the tissue. Yeah, I think that was a smart idea. See, you never know what you're going to find. You just have a little look at what everybody else is doing. So you just do that, bunch it up a bit just so you can grab it once it's dried, and then it's just got to dry, right? I'll probably leave it overnight and then see how it goes in the morning, and then we'll have a look at what that's done for us. So here is one perfectly dried. Ta-da! Yes, I did do it last night. Here's one I've prepared earlier. The one with the rings. Now, this one was kind of cool because it had an easy section there, was already lifted on the edge. And then you just got to pull it off your plastic, which is kind of fun, really. Now, what's amazing is I use matte medium. See how matte flat the front is? The back is like super glossy because of the plastic that it was on. I know. Colored tissue does the same when I color it with inks. It does the same thing. It's really cool. So that just like that, it comes off. Ta-da! It's just like magic. Sometimes you can put the tissue on and leave a tiny little edge on it over your plastic base. That's what I did with another sheet, and it's easy to pull off like that. Otherwise, make sure you scrunch the edge so that you can pull it off easy. But then, ta-da, there's all the matte medium from the overpainting. Look at that. It's pretty fun, really. And there it is. Ta-da. Super shiny on the back. And it does actually feel more rice papery. It's definitely stronger. Like here's the original half that I chopped off that piece. So that's really tissue papery, which is great if you want to tear sections out and put it in. I think that works really well. Love this. This is the one with the layer of matte medium. It's just different, right? Can it scrunch up? Yeah, it kind of scrunches. It's definitely more rice papery feel, which is quite fascinating. And if you don't want to buy expensive papers, this is just another way of creating something. Why am I scrunching it? I don't know, just to see what it does. You got to experiment, right? So that's cool. That one works. Here's the white. Also, the benefit is it's stronger. So if I want to use it in collage, especially maybe a big collage, and I don't want the delicacy of the tissue, it would be a great idea or great paper to use for that. Now, here is one of the bubble wrap prints that I did with the matte medium. And it's really interesting, really interesting. I love the idea. I'm glad I watched it. Thank you so much, Catherine, for sharing that on Instagram, because I'm really going to experiment with this idea a bit more. See how tough it is? That's tough, baby. That takes a little bit of love, and that will. But the bubble wrap mark looks really cool. So what about the colored tissues? How did they come out? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Here's one that's dried. See how the kind of the bunched up edges here just make it easier to pull the tissue off. I think that's a good idea. There's a helpful little tip there. See, then it's much easier to pull it off. If you've got a little bunched edge, that gives you a starting point. Yay! So that's the colored one. The white tissue bubble wrap mark with the eye inks in honey, and then I did the coating of the matte medium, and I think that looks pretty cool. I really like it. Can you see so you can see my hand through it, right? So you can see how translucent it is. That's the matte medium doing that. If you turn it over, it looks pretty cool on the back too. It's very shiny on the back. You might want that. Who knows, right? It's just options. We like options. I really like this one. It's quite transparent, but the bubble wrap marks look really clear on this. This looks really cool. Loving it. Great idea. I'm definitely going to experiment with this idea some more. So I think our bubble wrap paper has worked really well. I'm also loving my beehive paper as well in all of its various forms. Loving all of the colors. So, you know, we've got options here. And the proof is in the pudding, people. And the pudding is in the eating. So I really think we should put a little collage together. Just a little one, right? One that's not going to take too much time. But I think you need to use some of these papers in just a little collage just to see how well they respond and which ones we like better. This is really interesting. Man, we got to play with this one some more. Actually, this one here was the white tissue. I put it on the plastic, right? I put the matte medium over it, and then I spritzed it just a little bit. I spritzed it instead of the big soaking of the ink like I did with that one. I spritzed it a little when it had the matte medium and was sitting on the plastic, like one spritzer, and it's got that mottled color to it. Now that is really cool. Why has it got holes? Because I didn't wait for it to dry. Because I wanted to see what it looked like. And I tried pulling it up and it wasn't completely dry. So you really do have to wait for it to completely dry before you pull it off the plastic backing. I know. I'm not a patient person. But look at that. I mean, that little area in itself is so cool. I love that one. All right, we have to make a collage because I want to use some of this, like now, right now. Right now. So there's heaps of ways to vary this idea. Let's just put a little collage, just something little together, because I'm so busting to use some of these papers. Right, so I've pulled out my fabulous little 20 centimeter or 8-inch square Dilutions Creative Art Journal. This is the one I was using for my 100 Days of Collage in the second half of it. And it's got, you know, a few pages left to fill. So we may as well keep going, right? I've got my matte medium that I like to use. This one does not have any water in it because it's already wet enough. And I have a collection of my fabulous newly handmade papers in both the original versions and the coated papers as well. So what are we going to start with? Oh my gosh, it's so exciting. I just tore a piece of paper bag, brown paper bag, nothing exciting, because I like the brown paper bag against the black. It looks fabulous. So I'm going to start with that. I also have this piece left over from my 100 Days of Collage. And it's a white stencil on paper packaging. Yes, I know. I love it. So I'm going to use that as well. Where are we going to go to next? Not sure exactly, but that's a good start. I'm loving this paper here. So this was the one with the licorice ice ink sprayed on the white tissue with gesso round bling rings on it. It looks fabulous. I don't know. I just love it. It's the coated version. I have coated and uncoated because, you know, you got to try everything. I'm liking the coated version. Maybe I'll just put this on here and then we'll decide what we want to do. Look at that. That kind of got a little beat up in my impatience to get it off the plastic. But I like it. I know I'm weird. I like that rough organic edge. I'm going to keep that. Glue it down like that. I'll probably trim off the top, maybe not. Okay, I'll glue it right to the edge and then I don't have to trim it. But I'm going to leave that kind of rough and raw on there. Just trim it off there and trim it off there. Easy peasy. So, yes, I'm still liking this idea. I'm going to put that on there. And then what are we going to do there? Not sure. I know I have to do 2 pages at once because that's just how I am. It's a whole picture to me. It's a whole artwork. So we have to do both sides. Definitely going to start with that. And I'm thinking maybe some of the white bubble wrap marks. This one is coated. I don't mind if I tried the coated or uncoated. That looks pretty nice. Pretty darn, yes. I'm liking that, white. On there, do I want some of the actual beehive paper with the tissue? You know, I might want some beehive paper on there. And then, well, we have to have some bronze bling rings somewhere. We just have to. Or else we could put some of the beautiful honey. That looks nice too. And you can see the black coming through. Ooh, I don't mind that idea. That's kind of a cool idea. Righto, so how about we start with that idea? What else is going to go there? Well, if I look in my scrap box, I have some wallpaper samples, bits of scrap from a class I'm working on at the moment. Yes, on Skillshare. What can I say? That's what I'm doing. We're using found papers. So I've got this piece of wallpaper scrap. I'm loving the red. Maybe not as much. I might trim it down. I have to use these somewhere. They might go better on there, and I can either try the uncoated version, because look how cool this would be to rip them out. I mean, come on. This is magnificent. Now we have fabulous handmade beehive paper. Easy peasy. You can tear it out easy and use one element. Oh man, that looks awesome. Okay, I'm doing that. I know, that was really hard, man. That was really hard. Do I want that underneath there? I don't know. I'll start gluing it down and then we'll see where we're at. But I'm loving that. That's really working for me. All right, let's start with that. So what I'm liking about these coated papers is they're a lot stronger and a lot more robust than just the tissue on its own. Because, you know, I don't know, I tend to tear it a fair bit. But if you want a single element, then definitely the uncoated tissue is going to work better. Like ripping out that little bronze circle, that's going to work so much easier uncoated. But putting on this big piece on the page like this, the coated version is a lot easier to handle because it's a bit stronger. So, yay, you need to make both. That's all I'm saying. Now, this handmade beehive paper is fabulous. Love it. Great idea. Worked well. But do I want one or do I want two? Look how easy it tears from the tissue. Yeah, it is fabulous for creating little elements for your collage. And when you do a whole heap of papers at once, put them in a file. And then when you need them, there they are. Fabulous. Love it so much. Righto, do we want one or do we want two? That is the question. So there's one. Loving it. Yes, it's definitely going to happen. But do we want one or do we want two? Oh, man. One or two. Which one do we want? Oh, I think I'll just go with one. What do you think? One? Do I have a unanimous vote? Yeah, I'm going with one. Because it's going to cover up too much of my beautiful red otherwise. We can't have that now, can we? That is just flipping awesome. Yay, and now look how many of those fabulous bronze circles I have to use like this. Easy peasy, on it goes, done. Yep, that's working. Loving it. So on that note, I'm just thinking, how hard is it to tear off the coated ones? I don't know. How hard is it? You know, it's not. I thought it would be a lot harder to tear off these ones that are coated with the matte medium, but they're not hard at all. Oh my gosh, not at all. That was just as easy to tear that off as the uncoated. So, you know, go crazy. That's all I'm saying. You can use either one. Either one works well. I wonder if it looks different when you stick it down. I don't know. Should we try it? I think we should. What about if I put it on top? All right, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to add it on top to make it stronger. I mean, it's exactly the same size and shape, so it'll just increase. Yes, make it more of a standout. Okay, I did it. Too late. Don't tell me not to. I've already done it. Let's see how that dries. That'll be beautiful. Don't worry. Don't stress. It'll be fine. Yes, loving it a lot better because you can see it more. It was getting dissolved by the tissue. Righto, so what's happening on this side? I'm loving this white. This is a coated piece. But, you know, like I showed you, it doesn't really matter if they're coated or not coated. It all works. I just want to tear it, make it a little more organic in its edge because it was looking a bit stiff. We can't have that now, can we? So I'm thinking there, do I want to take it to the edge? You know, I actually might take it to the edge. I can always trim it down. See how easy that tears, and that's the coated version. So, you know, it's fabulous. That's all I'm saying. I love the idea. Love it. So I'm liking that. Going off the edge like that. That's pretty fun. I did like the idea of this. This beautiful honey color. Yes, I do still like that idea. And then we need something for a feature on the top element here. What's that going to be? Oh, you know, I could cut a circle out of this. Maybe I'll do that. All right. Hold the phone caller. I might just go and cut a circle out of this paper. Because being coated like this, it's going to be able to cut shapes so much easier. Yes? Okay, I'm going to go and test that theory. So, yes, my theory was correct. Cutting a shape out of the coated tissue is really easy because it's a lot stiffer and stronger and you can cut it with a lot less hassle. Yay! So my beautiful circle looks fabulous. And I think that's how it's going to go. On there, like that. This is going to go just like that on there. I think that's going to go off the edge. Yeah, that works. Now, what else are we doing? Well, you know, I do like a bit of drama. So I think I might put some of the black. Put some of the black on. Oh, yeah. What about with that edge? That edge is pretty rough. That got a little beat up with me pulling it off the plastic because this is one of the coated ones. But we could put it like that. Something like that. Look at the beautiful bubble mark patterns. I mean, seriously, it's so basic. We're talking about packaging here, people. This is not high tech. But we could put it like that, trim it off there, trim it down there, leave the rough and rugged edge there because that's kind of fun. Put the circle there, and then, you know, I keep coming back to my beehive paper. Then I think I'll put some beehive paper. Okay, that's what we're going to do then. Yeah, that's going to look pretty nice. Righto, I'm doing it. Well, I think that both the coated and the non-coated tissue textured papers are very successful. I'm really happy with this experiment. And I'm loving my little collage. It was a great way to try out these papers. This one I'm putting on now is a coated version because they're just a little stronger. So they're easier to kind of tear into shape. But, you know, the uncoated works just as well, especially if you're gentle. But look at that. Look at my beautiful beehive paper. I mean, come on. That's just glorious. Right, so I'm very happy with our experiments. I think my little collage to try out the papers is successful. Look, looks fabulous. And the papers are glorious. Now you want to make sure you do a heap at once, put them in a folder, and then when you're going to do crazy collages like 100, you'll have them there ready to use. That's the plan. That's the best plan to do. Loving my bubble wrap. It's gorgeous. That's the standard bubble wrap size. That's the bigger one. And I'm loving the actual gorgeous circle marks on the tissue. Yay! I think the pages are fabulous. It was very successful. I hope you enjoyed it this week with the experiments. We're going to experiment some more next week with some different techniques. And when it's dry, I'll give you a close-up because it's all looking rather beautiful. Yay! joining me today in the studio. I really hope you enjoyed the experiment creating these textured papers. I know I did. I might get a little obsessed through the week and create some more. Now, we're going to be doing this for the next few weeks, Sunday in the studio, because I really want to keep experimenting with these different techniques and making more papers. It's so much fun, and there's so much we can do with such simple materials and basic techniques. So come back next week and join me. We'll be creating some more beautiful papers. And don't forget to check out my Skillshare classes. The link's in the description. First month free, baby. See you next week.